Do you know who was honored as the general who saved the Union in the American Civil War? Who was the 18th President of the United States? He was Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States and the general celebrated as the savior of the Union in the American Civil War. Ulysses S. Grant was born on April 27, 1822, in Point Pleasant, Ohio, United States. In 1865, as commanding general, Grant led the Union Army to victory in the American Civil War. He conducted the Mexican-American War, the Battle of Belmont, the Battle of Fort Henry, the Battle of Fort Donelson, the Battle of Shiloh, the Vicksburg Campaign, the Chattanooga Campaign, the Battle of Cold Harbor, and the Old Dominion Campaign. Ulysses S. Grant served as the 18th President of the United States from 1869 to 1877. He died on July 23, 1885, in Wilton, New York. United States early military career and personal life. 1. Enrollment at West Point and early military life. In 1839, Ulysses S. Grant enrolled at the West Point Military Academy. Due to an error on the admission papers, his name was written as U.S. Grant, which later became his permanent identity. As a cadet, he was known for his calm nature, excellent horsemanship, and steady temperament. In 1843, he graduated 21st in his class and joined the 4th U.S. Infantry Regiment, beginning his first duty assignment at Jefferson Barracks in Missouri II. Marriage and family life. In 1844, Grant met Julia Dent, and after a long relationship, they married in 1848. Grant's father opposed the marriage because of differences over slavery, but the couple remained firm. They had 4 children: Frederick, Ulysses Jr., Ellen, Nellie, and Jesse, who later became emotional anchors and strong foundations in Grant's life. 3. Role in the Mexican-American War. During the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 48, Grant served under General Zachary Taylor and Winfield Scott, participating in several major campaigns. In battles such as Monterey, Molino del Rey, and Chapultepec, he demonstrated remarkable courage and leadership. This war taught him crucial lessons in strategy, discipline, and command, skills that later became his greatest strengths during the Civil War. 4. Post-war duty, crisis, and resignation. After the war, Grant was posted to various remote stations: Detroit, New York, Panama, and eventually the West Coast. In Panama, during a deadly cholera outbreak, he risked his life caring for sick soldiers. However, long separations from his family, financial pressure, and loneliness affected him deeply. While stationed in California, he faced allegations related to alcohol use and resigned from the Army in 1854, returning to his family in St. Louis struggle in civilian life, slavery, and early political position. Leaving the Army in 1854, Grant entered civilian life with no steady income and spent the next 7 years in financial hardship. He worked on his father-in-law's farm near St. Louis, but farming was unsuccessful. He even had to sell firewood by the roadside to survive. Later, he built a small cabin called Hardscrabble, but the Panic of 1857 worsened his financial state, forcing him to pawn a watch to support his family. In 1858, after falling ill with malaria, he left farming. Politically, he supported Democratic candidates as the Civil War loomed, though he did not vote in the 1860 election. During this period, he bought a slave from his father-in-law, but freed him in 1859 without taking any payment, as he disliked slavery. His attempts at real estate and bill collection were also unsuccessful. Finally, in 1860, he moved to Galena and worked in his father's leather goods business, gradually paying off his debts and regaining social respect. Civil War. 1. Early command. On April 12, 1861, the Civil War began with the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter. Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteers. Grant, moved by patriotism, attended public meetings. On April 18th, he declined the rank of militia captain, and on June 14th, he became colonel of the 21st Illinois Volunteer Regiment. After moving to Missouri, he conducted operations to clear Confederate forces. On August 5th, he was promoted to brigadier general, and on September 6th, he seized Paducah without a fight, establishing peaceful relations with locals too. Battles of Belmont, Fort Henry, and Fort Donelson, 1861 to 1862. At Belmont, he fought with 2,500 troops. Though Union forces gained ground, they were forced to withdraw by stronger Confederate reinforcements. Shortly afterward, he captured Fort Henry, February 6, 1862, and Fort Donelson, February 16, 1862, taking 12,000 Confederate prisoners. These victories established his reputation as a bold commander, and Lincoln promoted him to Major General. 3. Battle of Shiloh, 1862, and aftermath. At Shiloh on April 6th, Confederates launched a surprise attack. Grant quickly formed a new defensive line, and the next day, with 18,000 reinforcements from Buell and Wallace, he launched a counterattack that forced the Confederates to retreat to Corinth. About 23,746 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing at Shiloh. Despite victory, Grant faced heavy criticism. Later, Halleck advanced with 120,000 troops to take Corinth and restored Grant to active command. On September 19th, at the Battle of Iuka, Grant defeated Confederate forces, protected Corinth, and began integrating former enslaved people into the Union Army 4. Vicksburg Campaign, 1862 to 1863. Capturing Vicksburg was crucial for splitting the Confederacy. In late 1862, Grant seized Holly Springs, but Confederate raids disrupted his advance. Later, he reorganized supply lines using civilian labor and the agricultural workforce. He issued the controversial General Order No. 11, later revoked by Lincoln. On January 29, 1863, he assumed overall command and moved south toward Vicksburg. On May 16th, he defeated the Confederates at Champion Hill, forcing them into Vicksburg. After a 7-week siege, Confederate General Pemberton surrendered on July 4, 1863, giving the Union full control of the Mississippi River 5. Chattanooga Campaign, 1863, and subsequent operations. Grant relieved the partially besieged Union Army at Chattanooga by reopening supply lines. Hooker captured Brown's Ferry and Lookout Mountain. Thomas advanced north of Missionary Ridge, while Sheridan and Wood led 4 divisions that broke the Confederate lines. This victory opened the path for the Union's advance into Georgia. 6. Overland Campaign, 1864. From May to June 1864, a series of brutal battles between Grant and Lee took place in Virginia. When Sigel and Butler failed, Grant confronted Lee alone. On May 4th, he crossed the Rapidan River and entered the Wilderness, where 3 days of fierce fighting resulted in heavy casualties. Refusing to retreat, he moved southeast to Spotsylvania, where 13 days of savage combat occurred, especially at the Bloody Angle. When Lee's line held, Grant again shifted southeast toward the North Anna River 7. Battle of Cold Harbor. After weakening the Confederate morale in the Wilderness, Grant planned a major attack on Lee's positions at Cold Harbor. On June 1st to 2nd, the attack was delayed, giving Lee time to strengthen his defenses. On June 3rd, Grant launched an assault with 100,000 troops, but Lee's 59,000 well-entrenched men inflicted 12,000 to 14,000 casualties on the Union forces. The high losses boosted anti-war sentiment in the North. Grant sought a ceasefire to rescue the wounded, but Lee restricted it. Grant later admitted that the final assault at Cold Harbor was something he deeply regretted. 8. Siege of Petersburg, 1864 to 1865. Grant moved his army south of the James River and advanced toward Petersburg, beginning a 9-month siege to stop Confederate attacks in the Shenandoah Valley. He dispatched reinforcements. In July, a massive explosion occurred, the Crater, which backfired for the Union and involved one of the first major battles fought by black troops. Grant successfully extended Lee's line south and west of Petersburg, cutting vital railroads. Meanwhile, Union forces captured Mobile Bay, Atlanta, and the Shenandoah Valley. By March 1865, Confederate strength collapsed. On March 25th, Confederates lost Fort Stedman, the beginning of the end for Petersburg. 9. Lee's surrender and Union victory, 1865. On April 2nd, Grant ordered a general assault. Lee abandoned Petersburg and Richmond. Sheridan's cavalry blocked the connection between Lee and Johnston's armies. On April 9th at Appomattox Courthouse, Grant met Lee, who surrendered his army. Grant allowed Confederate soldiers to return home and forbade celebrations among Union troops. Johnston, Taylor, and Smith later surrendered, ending the Civil War 10. Lincoln's assassination on April 14, 1865. Lincoln invited Grant to Ford's Theater, but Grant and his wife declined. That night, John Wilkes Booth assassinated Lincoln. Grant believed he was also a target. The next day, Lincoln died and Vice President Andrew Johnson was sworn in. Grant pledged to work with Johnson. Commanding generalship, 1865 to 1869. After the war, Grant served as general of the army, confronted French intervention in Mexico, implemented Reconstruction in former Confederate states, and oversaw the Indian Wars on the Western Plains. He advocated leniency for Lee and other Confederate generals. In 1866, Congress promoted him to General of the U.S. Army. During Reconstruction, Grant used federal troops to protect the civil and voting rights of black citizens, often clashing with President Johnson. In 1868, he received the Republican nomination and was elected president. As president, he enforced Reconstruction, protected African American rights, crushed Ku Klux Klan violence through strong legislation, and stabilized the national economy. He was re-elected in 1872, though his second term faced corruption scandals and economic difficulties. After leaving office in 1877, he traveled the world and wrote his memoirs before his death in 1885. Presidency, Ulysses S. Grant served as the 18th President of the United States from 1869 to 1877. Elected from the Republican Party, he implemented Reconstruction policies and used federal troops to protect the civil and voting rights of African Americans in the South. Grant enforced strong laws against Ku Klux Klan violence and stabilized the national economy while initiating civil service reforms. He was re-elected in 1872, but his second term was troubled by corruption scandals and economic downturns. Still, his major achievements included maintaining national unity, protecting civil rights, and supporting Reconstruction. After the presidency, Ulysses S. Grant was elected the 18th President of the United States in 1868 and served 2 terms, 1869 to 1877. He was a leader of the Republican Party, focusing on Reconstruction and the protection of African American civil and voting rights. His era faced economic and social challenges. The Panic of 1873 was a major issue. Although personally honest and principled, many officials in his administration were involved in corruption. Still, Grant's lasting contributions included preserving national unity, defending civil rights, and guiding Reconstruction. Before his death in 1885, he wrote his memoirs, which became one of the most important historical works in American literature. Historical reputation. Ulysses S. Grant is honored as the general who saved the Union during the American Civil War. His victories at Vicksburg and Appomattox brought him national fame. Though criticized for excessive use of force in the South and rumored drinking, his integrity as president, his efforts in Reconstruction, and his defense of African American rights are highly valued. After his death, his reputation declined somewhat, but since the 1950s, historians have reevaluated him. William S. McFeely's 1981 biography and 21st Century Research present him as an effective general and morally strong president. In the 2021 C-SPAN survey, he ranked 20th among 44 presidents. Death: Ulysses S. Grant died on July 23, 1885. In New York City. At the time of his death, he was suffering from throat cancer. He was nationally honored, and thousands attended his funeral.